So, hello and welcome to the latest in the Earn, Learn, Thrive LinkedIn Lives. And with me today, I have Anna Yerib of Art of ELT. And we're going to be talking about from burnout to balance, how ELT teachers can reclaim their passion and well-being, which, let's face it, is something that I think an awful lot of teachers can probably relate to. So, Anna, just to give us a little bit of introduction to yourself, you have experience in both ELT, long-term experience in ELT, and in health coaching. So, tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to combine those fields.
Well, yes, I'm an English teacher and I'm a teacher trainer and a health coach. Um, the reason why I decided to combine these aspects is because I saw a need, obviously. First of all, I experienced burnout myself in ELT. I also experienced chronic health problems, which at least partially are because they came out of my inability to take care of myself as a teacher. So I gave myself health coaching. I mean, I bought the service of health coaching,
Mhm.
and it worked so well that I decided to become one as well. And yeah, that's why, because I experienced burnout and I see how much my colleagues and my trainees suffer daily
Mm,
because of the demands put on them, and because they don't know how to take care of themselves. This is like
yeah,
nobody's taught them.
and the
Teachers are taught
demand.
how to teach. Sorry, teachers are taught how to teach, but not how to sustainably exist as teachers. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and the demands that we as teachers put on ourselves, which I think is part of it. It's all wrapped up together, isn't it? Because we do that because of expectations kind of within
Yeah.
what teaching is.
And I mean, teaching is a caring profession, same as nursing, you know?
Mm,
And nurses are trained in how to take care of themselves, how to handle emotional labor. We mentioned this earlier.
mm,
Um, like they're given the tools to take care of themselves, and we're not mostly.
yeah. No, it's a very good point, actually. If
Mhm.
you're watching us live, do say hi in the comments so that we know you're there. It would be nice to know we're not just talking to ourselves. Oh, there's Annie Malcolm, although I'm quite happy just to talk between us. Yeah, let us know you're here. Just say hi in the comments. And if you have any questions or comments, please do join in the conversation. So, so for teachers who kind of feel, difficulty with this, like putting themselves first, looking after themselves, saying no, how do you think they can start shifting that mindset?
Well, I mean, they have to make the intention and they have to acknowledge the fact that if they want something to change, they'll have to change something.
Mhm.
Just going along with things probably won't help the situation. And they can, yeah, basically, teachers who are struggling can, especially with boundaries, can start by setting boundaries. And that I suggest you start small. So, um, whatever small boundary or small change you can take, do it. Even if it's just like I'm not opening my I saw an email from my head teacher not opening it until after lunchtime. Like
Mhm.
that's already enough to get you on the right path. Um, what was the question again? I get lost.
So, well, how can they start shifting that mindset? And I think, what you're
Yeah, yeah,
saying is start small. Mm.
yeah,
I,
absolutely. Start small and start acknowledging that what you do is really hard. And it's not just hard in the amount of work we do, like planning and then teaching and marking papers, writing reports,
mm,
administrative tasks. It is literally also the emotional part of it, the thing that we love in the
mm.
classroom, but that does drain us. And so setting boundaries around our energy is also really important.
And I think also, I don't know whether you agree with me, but that whole thing about boundaries, I think people often see that as a negative, like, oh, I don't want to build walls between me and my students, and they don't really understand exactly what a boundary is. It's not about being a bitch, basically, is it?
No, no, it's not. It's about being a friend to yourself.
Mm,
It's realizing that being available to everybody will mean that you are actually being a bitch a lot of the time in the classroom because you can't handle the
mhm,
constant demands, the constant drainage on your energy. So it's a really cool thing to remember that saying no to something always means saying yes to something else. So
mhm,
if we can just focus on what we're actually saying yes to in the classroom or in our teaching life outside of the classroom, if we keep those things, what you're saying yes to, in mind, that's really helpful. So you can
mm,
say yes to being a present teacher. Hi. So you can say yes to being a present teacher in the
mhm,
classroom, and that automatically means saying no to the million things that you maybe think you should do on your lesson plan that you planned to do and that you know that your students need to cover in order to pass the exam. Well, do they really? What's more helpful, being fully present now and kind of saving the time you usually spend planning
mhm,
everything in the most minute of details, time and
mm,
energy, um, and just saying, yes, I'm going to be here right now as much as I can. And then also when you leave the classroom, leaving that leaving it behind you, not carrying with you, thinking, okay, now I need to make sure that I do all the things I promised to do. I mean, you should, but take
mm.
notes. Um, so
Yeah.
yes,
No, I
say
understand
yes to
exactly
things.
what you're saying. I think that it's
Mm,
it's about um let me think of a way of putting this. So, I mean, because I had two experiences of burnout relatively early in my
mm,
career. And what I remember most is just this total feeling of, overwhelm and all these seemingly millions of things that you're juggling. And when you're
mm,
in that kind of state, I now understand better. Your sort of your peripheral vision literally narrows, and you just can't see the bigger picture. And so you're not actually going to be as good a teacher because
no,
you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're just focusing on
no.
all the little atomized bits.
And you're focusing on you surviving
Yeah.
yourself, getting through all the tasks. Just like,
Mm,
let's get through this.
yeah.
And there's no way your teaching can be as effective, or there's no way you have the space to care for your students, care about your
Mm,
students as much.
mm,
So
yeah.
setting boundaries is a great way to become a better teacher.
I totally agree. And I do think it's really important to get that, because, teachers do care about their students. And that's a lot of the reason why they bend over backwards and do too much. So understanding that you're not actually doing them a favor through doing that can be a good staging post, I think.
Absolutely. And one more thing, I think, again, I think by taking care of ourselves, maybe setting boundaries, maybe that's the first thing we can learn. It's actually great for our students as well because we're modeling how a healthy existence can look
Mm,
like. Um,
mm,
if we're showing our students, kids or adults, doesn't really matter, maybe even worse for kids, um, that a teacher is somebody who will bend over backwards, who is there to serve and just them, not
mm,
themselves. Um, that's not a good model for existing for people. But
mm,
we do learn, like people learn from the people around us, you know, especially
mm.
children, they're surrounded by their teachers and the
Yeah,
other kids in
yeah.
the class and their families. That's it. So they learn how to exist as people and teachers
Mm,
looking at us. So if we know how to set boundaries and take care of ourselves, we're doing them a favor.
Absolutely. And really, I think I've heard boundaries defined as essentially, letting people know clearly how you want to be treated.
Mm,
And I think
absolutely.
that's quite a nice way of putting it, because it sounds better than boundary, if you like, but that's
Absolutely.
essentially what it's about.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I'm just laughing at the comments where Anna says, "Hi, Rachel, you're swearing." Oh, it happens sometimes. Um,
It's all a
so,
part of well-being.
yes, absolutely. Mm. So, yeah, so let's talk a bit more about well-being, wellness practices. So things like mindfulness and looking after your physical health. How do you think that kind of ties into your professional role as well?
I mean, as a teacher, obviously we need to be physically well because we are on our feet a lot and we use our bodies a lot. We lecture, we talk
Mm,
at people, we use our bodies to show them work in pairs. Um, so yeah, the basics of self-care are good food. I mean, whole food
mm-hmm,
and enough sleep and a bit of movement. So this is really important for us teachers to start doing for ourselves. And I know it's hard. It's hard for me too. Um, but yeah, we have to. So physical health is definitely relevant to our teaching
mm,
because we use our bodies to do it, obviously. Um, and then mindfulness. The more we practice mindfulness, the more effective teachers we are. This is also just science. The more present we are, the more capable we are of serving their needs and giving them what they need.
mm,
Um, if we're all over the place up here, we won't be able to respond to their needs.
mm,
Um, and we're teachers, we want to help. Um, and obviously, our own emotional regulation. So, dealing with our own feelings of discomfort, like anger or frustration, all the things that come up in the classroom. For me, fear comes up a lot. I fear being judged by my students or disliked, like just life stuff, just human being stuff. Um, and learning the self-regulation is really important for for my well-being, but also again for my students to see how it's done, especially when I'm in a classroom with kids, also
mm.
with adults, really. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, no, because it is about, we were talking a little bit before we went live. For me, the thing about teaching and training, there are so many, there are lots of different people in there who are all going through different things and responding to things emotionally in different ways. And you're kind of getting the brunt of a lot of that,
Yeah.
so you kind of have to have that level of peace, if you like, and awareness to be
Yeah.
able to deal with that. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know if you
Same
would agree.
here. And I do. Yeah. And it's a
Mm,
matter of tools and then practicing using those tools. Excuse me.
mm,
So obviously emotions happen in, in us teachers, but
mm,
you're absolutely right. Our students give us a lot of their emotions all the time.
mm,
And they're in school, so there will be a lot of frustration, anger, and fear as well. So we need to learn how to not absorb that.
mm.
It can be done.
Yeah.
It can be learned how to do it.
Mhm. No, absolutely. Again, without being a bitch. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
Well, I
agree.
mean, whenever people are a bitch in the classroom,
Mm,
it's not, it doesn't feel good anyway. You end up
mm,
feeling worse. You're
yeah,
like,
no,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes, Imanat Ali says students' mental and emotional health are equally important, which a teacher should consider. Absolutely, yes.
Hmm.
And our
Yeah.
mental and emotional health are
Yeah.
also important. Mhm. I agree.
That's where it
So
starts. Mm.
that, yeah, exactly. That is where it starts. So if an ELT professional then is currently feeling overwhelmed, let's say somebody's watching this and thinking, oh God, yes, I feel totally overwhelmed. What do you think would be, well, you mentioned about boundaries. What other advice might you give them?
Well, relax. Stop worrying so much. No, that's not very helpful. Um, okay, so identify one tiny little thing you can do to take care of yourself better and focus on that. And try to be as
Mm-hmm.
consistent with that as possible. And when other things come up, handle them the best way you can. Keep doing
Mm-hmm.
what you've always been doing, but just keep focusing on that tiny, small change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this usually, I mean, this isn't easy, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So first you need to identify what small thing you might want to change, which means you need to really reflect and think about not what which situations usually get you upset, but so what do you do in those situations? How do you usually react? Sort of like what's your part in the
Mm-hmm.
situations that frustrate you or cause you to, I want to say, lose your cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so start with a lot of self-reflection and start reflecting on your lessons or any part of your teaching life. So anything that happens at the school where you work, if you're a freelancer, maybe, you're very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
You can still think about your daily habits and any part of your teaching life. And then think, okay, so what what do I hate about this part? What could I change? Just a tiny little thing that I could do differently in this situation, um,
Mm.
and
I think
stick
that's
with that.
really important, actually, that because one of the things that I think people struggle with, and I include myself in this, is when we feel like we don't have any control over a situation. And,
Yeah,
and then we just kind of go round in this mad circle of like, it shouldn't be like this, but it is like this, but it shouldn't be like this, but it is like this, and we go sort of round and round. And
yeah,
and the only way I think to deal with that is to kind of step out and kind of go, okay, I can't control this and this and this and this. What can I actually control? What can I change and do that?
absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And it really works. It really
Mm.
helps. And then the thing with these small changes is once you break the circle that you just really adequately described,
Yeah.
once you break the circle with a tiny little change, then you're out of the circle, and then the spiral will take you somewhere else, but you
Yeah.
won't be stuck in that
Mm.
same hopeless, helpless, out of
Yeah.
control place.
No, exactly. And then you realize that actually you can do things. Maybe you can't change everything, but you do have some control, and that
Yeah,
helps,
you
as
do.
you say.
It does. Just the feeling of it helps, but also usually we really can change things. So,
Mm.
and I just want to say that I am fully aware that it's not individual teachers that a lot of the larger systems are broken for us
Mm.
teachers,
Absolutely.
okay?
Yeah.
But right now we're just talking about what we can do.
Mm.
So sometimes in situations it feels like we can't change anything because we really can't. Um, but it's never nothing. It's never 100% unchangeable because we're one of the elements in the situation. So
Mm.
if we change, if we respond differently, that already changes the situation.
Yeah.
And
No. And it's a tricky one, because as soon as you start sort of saying, well, think about what you can do, it will trigger people sometimes, because it's like,
yeah,
yes, but this is not my fault, and it's not a
yeah,
question of like fault or blame or anything like that. It's just about focusing, yeah, on what you actually can
yeah,
control and change, because that's what's going to
yeah.
make the difference.
It
Mm.
is. And if you want to make a larger change, you first have to feel like you have enough energy to try.
Yeah.
And so you have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I just add one more thing
Cool.
to the question, what can teachers do?
Mm,
So I think teachers often approach, so this is coming from me, but also from observing other
mm,
teachers I work with. So we tend to think that, okay, I have a lot of work right now. I have many classes to teach. I have papers to prepare, papers to grade, do other things, everything that teachers do. Um, so as soon as I get through this, I'm gonna be okay, and then I'll
mm.
rest.
Yeah.
But it never works out that way because more work always comes. And so I think deciding to put as much importance on recovery and rest as we do on getting the work done
Mm-hmm.
is really important.
Mm.
So, yes, we need to get those lessons ready, but also, yes, we need to take the afternoon off or the evening off. It depends on your schedule, obviously.
Yeah.
Like that should be as important as getting the work done and
Yeah.
as planned out
Mm.
because most of us don't know what to do with free time or how to
Yeah.
recharge.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I used to be really like that, and then I would get to a holiday and I would get ill every single time because it was like my body kind of just went, "You just need to be flat in a bed." You know? And it was just
Yeah.
not good. Mm.
Mm,
You can't save it all up until, you know, that sort of
no.
mythical time when you can take a week off or something. Because as you say, it either
Yeah.
doesn't happen or when it does happen, you get ill. You know,
Yeah.
it
It's like trying to run with a broken leg. And then as long as you're in a race where other people count on you, you just force yourself. You
yeah.
just run on that broken leg because other people and
Mm,
your own expectations, like you said.
yeah. Mm,
And then you cross the finish line and you're like, ow, my leg is broken. You can't-
indeed, yes. So, Anna, I know that you've created a group coaching program for teachers to help them like overcome these kinds of challenges. Can you tell us a bit about that and about how that helps teachers?
Yes. So the idea was to create something that would help or foster long-term change, not just something for right now, but like a program that would help teachers build their own, like their a longer term system that they can lean on the rest
Mm,
of their careers.
hmm
And so the kind of so it's quite psychological. Like there are many elements of psychological therapy involved, but also a lot of teacher training um, and second language acquisition stuff.
hmm
So because I think if teachers know how learning happens, then we can focus on what's important, and that saves time and energy. Um, so yeah, so it's a 3 month program, um, and each week, each well, almost each week the participants, the members, get um, a list of 3 to 6 exercises. And then they can choose. So they go through the exercises. There's theory there as well, because I like theory and science.
Teachers
So they go
mostly
through
do.
these exercises um, and choose 1, 2 at the most to work on that
Hmm
week. And then each week is also dedicated to a particular topic like self-reflection or time management. That's a big one.
mm
Um, but then and then there are weeks when there's no new tasks. It's just support from me. So meeting with me and with the other people in the course, talking about what's working, what's not, and getting very personalized support and creating very personalized plans for themselves. Um, so yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's fascinating, like that combination of things, because obviously there are people out there who will help you to teach better, and there are people out there who will help you with mindfulness or looking after your health. But I think bringing those two things together is something quite special.
Yeah.
And you're in a position to, as a teacher trainer as well as a health coach, you're in such a good position to bring those two things together, and they do belong together, because you're right, the way you
Thank
approach
you.
teaching is as important as anything else.
Yeah. And I don't think it's appropriate for everybody, but I think for many of us, especially language teachers, my teacher training help really is linked to second language acquisition. That's what I know.
Mm,
Um, so I think there are many of us who just don't know how to do it because nobody's ever told us. And as teachers, we should know that,
mm,
yeah, learning really is a social thing. We learn with other people. We need feedback.
mm,
We need guidance.
mm,
So, yeah. I mean, I also studied psychology, and that was helpful, but not as much as training up to be a health coach. Because
mm,
coach, like, Rachel, but coaches don't actually tell you how to do things. They don't try to fix you. The
mhm.
point of a coach is to show you how to find the solutions in you, your solutions that already
Yeah.
exist in you.
Yeah,
And I
well,
love that
because
process.
you don't want somebody to, finish a program and then be completely helpless. You want to empower them, to then go on
Yes.
and use those things. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Nicola in the comments. So we've got like just about 3 minutes left. So any last kind of questions or comments for Anna? And just while people are thinking what to put there, can you just tell us where people can find out more about your coaching program and connect with you, etc.?
Yes. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be very happy to see you on LinkedIn. But you can also go to my website, artofelt.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter, which is usually out on Mondays, except when I'm very busy and prioritize my self-care, in which case
Fair enough.
the newsletter goes out later in the week. But yeah, I try to send out something every week.
No, well, that's fair enough. Walking the walk as well as talking the talk. So, okay, so I don't think we've got any more questions or anything at the moment, but we can both come back and have a look at the comments afterwards. So if you're watching this on replay, feel free to add a comment or question. And if you tag me or Anna, then we can come back and answer that question later. Thank you very much, Anna, for talking about this. It's such an important topic, and I think we keep talking. I don't mean you and I, but in the business, in the field, we keep talking about this, and yet nothing really changes. And I think we have to start taking it more seriously and doing something, prioritizing it, basically.
Yeah, but like you said, taking action. We need to
Mm,
start doing stuff.
yeah,
Talking is
exactly.
great, but then
Mm,
it has to be balanced with action as well.
yeah. No, I agree totally. Well, thank you very much for your suggestions as well today about what actions people can take. And yeah, you can find out more about how Anna could help you through her LinkedIn profile or her website. So thanks. Thank you, Annie. Thank you very much then, everybody. And see you next time.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody.